A long time ago, there was a man in this very village who had an eye they said could see the truth. Now, usually, you have to train your mind's eye most strenuously to actually see the truth. But this fella, no, they said he had a different way of doing things. His house stood where the well is now. This is told to Link by Shikashi in Kakariko Village, and many theories have been made about the one who seemingly created the Lens of Truth, an item with the magical ability to see through illusions. But I'd like to challenge those theories and offer my own unique theory. What happened to the man who created the Lens of Truth? Why was this magical item locked away at the bottom of the well? This theory of mine has the potential to answer these questions and many, many more. This is but part one of a multi-part theory extravaganza, so buckle up as I share with you my theory on the Forbidden Eye of Truth. As I stated, many theories have been made about the man mentioned by Shikashi. It's a pretty well accepted fact that this man he was talking about was the creator of the Lens of Truth. A magical magnifying glass of sorts, created by a member of the once flourishing Sheik tribe, a tribe of helpers to the Hyrule royal family who had all but died off by the events of Ocarina of Time. The usual theory about the man who created the Lens of Truth is that he's Bongo Bongo, the boss of the Shadow Temple. The theory goes something like this. The guy makes the Lens of Truth, then he goes crazy, maybe kills some people or steals some stuff, and then they take him to the Shadow Temple to be executed, and they tear down his house and build a well there for some reason. Then they, I guess, remove his corpse from the Shadow Temple and seal it in the newly built well, and his spirit gets angry later and randomly wants to play the bongos, I guess, and wants some revenge. Yeah, sounds pretty plausible. I mean, since, the house was there, where the well is, and Bongo Bongo was sealed in the well, and there's a connection there, right? And Bongo Bongo has a giant eyeball, or is that his exposed neck from having his head chopped off? I don't know. It looks kind of like an eye. Let's go with an eye. It supports the theory. Yep, makes tons of sense. Yeah, but there's just one thing I don't understand. Besides, the whole timeline of events being really weird to support that theory. If the Lens of Truth is some sort of forbidden Sheik technology that was also sealed down in the well, how do the Gerudo know about it? Alright, enough horsing around. This was what really made me reassess the entire Bongo Bongo theory. Bongo Bongo was sealed away in the well and confined to Kakariko. How would news of the Lens of Truth be able to actually make its way to the Gerudo at that point? You would think that when the other Sheikah saw its creator get executed and sealed away for eternity inside of a well, nobody would dare to make so much as a peep about it, or else Impa might seal them down there too. But then I began to think, what if this theory could be better explained another way? Little by little, piece by piece, the theory came together in my head. I believe that the man whose house stood where the well is now, the man who created the Lens of Truth and whose eye could see the truth, might just be the Phantom Guide in the Haunted Wasteland. Alright, this sounds ridiculous at first, I know. All I ask is that you hear me out. The Phantom Guide Poe is a character that guides Link through the illusory Haunted Wasteland and to the Desert Colossus. Now, the Phantom Guide Poe is certainly a Poe, which are the ghosts of those who have died that had lingering regrets in life. However, this Phantom Guide Poe has some rather unique characteristics for a Poe. Firstly, this Poe is described as being inviting, which is very odd as Poes are almost never even friendly, let alone inviting. Secondly, this Poe speaks. Again, Poes almost never have the ability to speak, and this one even speaks in rhymes. Very odd indeed. Lastly, and most importantly, this Poe is completely invisible to the naked eye, and can only be seen by using the Lens of Truth. All very odd characteristics for a Poe to have. Alright, let's go through these one by one and try to make sense of them, starting with it being friendly. The only somewhat friendly Poes we ever come across in all of Zelda are Sharp and Flat, the two composer brothers for the Hyrule royal family. Their desire to protect their research in Ocarina of Time carried over to their deaths when they were killed by Ganondorf and became Poes. Ganondorf had killed them for not sharing their research about the Ocarina of Time with him. Even in death, though, Sharp and Flat continued guarding the Kakariko graveyard and were quite friendly to Link once they realized that he was just an innocent kid and wasn't working for Ganondorf. So with this information as our basis, it's not unreasonable to theorize that the Phantom Guide Poe was someone who was determined to maybe protect or defend something in life, but ultimately died at the cost of protecting that something. Next, let's talk about the Phantom Guide Poe's ability to speak. Again, Sharp and Flat are really the only Poes we ever see speak, and they presumably have the ability to speak as an added benefit of dying an unjust death, or at least that would seem to make a bit of sense. So from this, we can also deduce that this Phantom Guide Poe has the ability to speak, possibly due to dying an unjust death. Finally, let's talk about the Phantom Guide Poe's ability to turn invisible. I'm sure some of you are thinking, wait, all Poes can turn invisible in Ocarina of Time. And you're absolutely correct. Poes in the Kakariko graveyard, for example, can turn invisible while attacking. However, the difference here is that the Lens of Truth cannot see other Poes while they're invisible. This would imply that the Phantom Guide Poe has some kind of ability to hide itself using magic, as the Lens of Truth does take magic to use. Another odd thing about the Phantom Guide Poe's ability to turn invisible is that its lantern is also invisible. Other Poes, such as the aforementioned Kakariko graveyard Poes, cannot hide their lanterns while they're invisible. This odd characteristic also hints towards the idea that the Phantom Guide Poe uses some kind of magical ability to conceal itself and its lantern. In summary here, I am theorizing that only Poes that have died unjust deaths can be friendly, speak, and that this mysterious Phantom Guide Poe can cloak itself using magic. However, let me ask you another related question. How would this Guide Poe be able to see the correct way through the haunted wasteland in the first place? We know that this Poe likely possesses a magical ability that allows it to be hidden. So what if this Poe also possesses a magical ability that allows it to see what is hidden? You already know what I'm getting at here. I believe this Poe is the very man who created the Lens of Truth, and that he had the ability to see things magically without using the Lens of Truth. Because as we know, Shikashi told Link they say he had a different way of doing things. Yes, it was different because he didn't need to train his mind's eye, but rather he actually possessed the ability to see the unseen. I also believe that he created the Lens of Truth as an extension of his power, to act as a physical third eye, if you will, and at some point shared this power with the Gerudo as an offering that would protect himself from Ganondorf. He was probably caught doing so by the Sheik and fled into the desert. This would explain how this Phantom Guide Poe ended up in the middle of the haunted wasteland, how this Poe is able to guide Link through the unseen and also be unseen itself, and how the Gerudo ever learned of the existence of the Lens of Truth. Now, if you're still on the edge of believing that the Phantom Guide Poe was the creator of the Lens of Truth, I've saved two of the most convincing pieces of evidence for last. We know that some Poes, such as Sharp and Flat, keep the abilities they had in life even into death. This is seen in Majora's Mask when Sharp had written the Song of Storms while sealed away as a Poe underground. Yes, Flat was still able to write magical songs as a Poe. This would also mean that the Phantom Guide Poe's ability to turn invisible and see the invisible was an ability that he had in life. Still unconvinced? How about this? The Phantom Guide Poe only leads you to the Colossus, and not back from it. In his rhyme, he even says, "I'll be your guide on the way, but coming back, I won't play." The fact that he only leads you to the Colossus and not back from it must symbolize the fact that he himself was forced to seek safety, and once he had found safety, was unable to go back. This would be a rather poetic way of symbolizing his own fate. That about wraps this theory up, sticks a fork in it, puts a bow on it, or however else you want to say it's done. I think it's rather convincing and holds up pretty well to scrutiny. But wait, bongo bongo. If he didn't create the lens of truth, then who is he? Well, you'll just have to stay tuned for my next theory to hear what I think about that. I'll also share my complete theory on the chain of events and timeline of the Sheikah, the creator of the Lens of Truth, Bongo Bongo, the Well, the Shadow Temple, the Gerudo, and the Hyrulean Civil War, all in the next video. So stick around for that. I thank you for watching, and subscribe for more, my Hylians.